Hello everyone, Joe DeClara here from Gaming Trend. I'm here with Hunter Wolfe.
Hey, what's up everyone?
And we are here to talk about Dishonored 2. We've been playing the game, and we're, I think, both enjoying it a lot, and we decided to get together, talk about our first impressions. So Hunter, what do you think of the game?
Really, really impressed. It's a huge step up if you enjoyed the original Dishonored. You're really going to like Dishonored 2. Some minor technical stuff that we'll get into, but overall, I'm feeling pretty positive about it. How about you?
Yeah, me too. I like a lot of the improvements that they've made. It's definitely a very Dishonored 2 game. I know that sounds obvious, but it's just so much of it is very Dishonored. A lot of the same things coming back. But anything they brought back, just about everything that I've experienced so far in my first few hours of playing has been essentially improved upon. So I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, including 2 new characters.
Yeah, absolutely. You get to play as Emily Caldwin. It's super, super cool. So me and you are both actually playing different characters right now. I'm playing Emily, as a lot of people will start off probably to try out the new tricks. And you've been playing as Corvo.
Yes.
How do you feel about our returning assassin?
It's really cool, and first and foremost, Corvo has a voice now, which is really awesome. He was silent in the first game, and I really enjoy it. His character is fleshed out a lot while you explore the game world, and I just think the voice acting was handled very well.
I'm liking it a lot as well. It seems a little silly sometimes and maybe a little forced, but I generally like it far more than the Silent Protagonist, because Silent Protagonist always just seems very stupid. Mm-hmm. And most of it seems very genuine and very not too forced. The very beginning, though, I thought was a little absurd.
Yeah, it did feel a little rushed. The game doesn't hesitate to get you right into the action, but I do feel like not enough time was spent establishing the characters. You understand that Corvo is Emily's protector and Emily is the Empress now, but that's about it. And then there's a coup, and then the game starts.
Yeah, and what a coup. It was just immediate that we won't go into any
details,
real strong spoilers or details, but we will say that the action jumps right in. You have about maybe 3 minutes of exposition where Emily and Corvo are just exchanging quotes on what's going on in the world. And it's all very rushed, like you said. But then this fun starts. Once you get your powers and you get to the main city, the Jewel of the South, they call it, Karnaca, the game really opens up and you really start to see what's so great about this as an iteration on the Dishonored series.
Yeah, that first level when you get off, as soon as you land in Karnaca, it's like an exhibit of everything that Dishonored has improved on. It opens up it with side quests, and you've got items to track down, and the main story quest pulling you through. It's really exciting.
And it's so much... I wouldn't say it's larger. I don't know if the map itself is actually much bigger than Dunwall was, but it definitely feels far more alive. You used our game journalist's favorite word, a lot more verticality to these games. You know, there are these large spaces with buildings that you can go in and out of without any loading screens, which feels great. There's a lot of side quests, and just not even side quests, just little stories and little pockets of lore buried in each and every inch of this game, just like Dishonored, and they're great. But also, it just feels so much more alive. The first game was based in this dying city of the rat plague, and this is somewhat of a similar situation wherein Karnaca is infested with blood flies, but they went for a much more bustling and alive city. You jump in and there's just NPCs and civilians all over the place, and it just feels great for this game.
One thing I also liked is the new neutral areas. You can go in and kind of interact with the NPCs, and each of these levels begins with a city area, and they each have like a black market, and you can rob each black market in a unique way. So it's not even a main mission, but it's something you can do. So yeah, I don't know that the game is much larger in terms of size, but it's definitely much more dense.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And it's definitely benefits from that. Although I will say that just from a technical standpoint, from what I've experienced, I'm playing on PS4 right now, and I'm experiencing a lot of frame rate lag.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in the midst of intense gameplay, but the standard frame rate is definitely easily below 60 frames, probably around 30 or possibly even less when you're in the thick of combat and when you're doing intense things like platforming or what have you. And then even during cutscenes, like when you're loading up into a new area, like you're riding in on your boat like you would in the first game, the frame rate drops to even, say, maybe 15 frames. I'm just eyeing it. I don't have any equipment hooked up to it. But that's definitely a big impediment on the game because first-person game like this with so much action, you really want a smooth experience, and so far I haven't experienced that.
Yeah, and not only that, but Dishonored 2, one thing that's so unique about this franchise is its painterly art style, and the developers are going for a painting in motion design with this game, but when the frame rate drops, it really damages that art style. It's not congruent at all. It looks really ugly.
You're playing on Xbox One, I'm pretty sure.
I am playing on Xbox One.
Yeah, so far the console experience not the most optimal. We've heard some issues with PC, but if you can get your hands on this and you have a good PC to run it, chances are that's the best way to play it. Because design-wise, it's gorgeous. Like you said, it has this oil pastel-like look. Just as the first game did. With a little more detail, I think they've got this running on a new engine that they designed from the ground up for the game. And it looks great. It's got some cool lighting effects. And just as from a design standpoint, every perspective you can get on this beautiful city is always just so picturesque. But once you start moving around and that frame rate dips and, you know, the textures start popping in and out, that kind of puts a damper on the experience.
Yeah, so to just sum up the technical problems we're having, they only dampen the experience a little bit. Overall, the game feels and runs really well. The story is compelling so far. Yeah.
Aside from that, the gameplay I've enjoyed a lot so far. I'm loving Emily's new moves. The pull mechanic in place of the blink mechanic, which is Corvo's teleporting ability.
Yeah, which powers have you unlocked so far?
Yeah, so I've been messing around with pull a lot. I've also upped her agility, so she's able to do double jumps and things like that. And I also unlocked Shadow Walk, which was that really cool mechanic where she turns into this shadowy creature and crawls around. And
all the NPCs are like, what the heck?
Yeah, that's very cool. You become less detectable by the AI when you go into Shadow Walk, and that's very cool because you get to replace that blink mechanic, because blink with Corvo you can just teleport, but the pull mechanic for Emily, she's actually pulled physically across spaces, so she actually is detectable when she blinks or pulls from place to place. So it's very cool mechanic. It functions very differently in many ways from Corvo's abilities, but Shadow Walk adds to that stealth style, and generally everything's still very smooth. Hand-to-hand combat still feels great. Very simple.
Feels better.
It feels a lot better actually because it's a lot faster.
And there's now the non-lethal combat takedown options. So you used to only be able to drop assassinate somebody, but now you can drop knock unconscious somebody.
Yeah, right. So a lot of cool. I haven't done a real non-lethal play yet. I've been mostly trying to avoid killing characters, but once I'm spotted, I just go all out. As far as my first run through, and
it won't last.
Yeah, sure, and it's fun. And what's also great is the enemy AI. That was one of the problems with the first game. Was the stealth mechanics were so broken because you could just totally manipulate the AI, and they were very, very stupid. This time around, I feel that the enemy AI is much more savvy to your stealthy tactics and whatnot.
Yeah, and to back up for a second, Corvo's powers return from the original game, so he has abilities like Blink, which is the teleport. He has abilities such as Dark Vision, which lets him see enemies through the walls, etc. So one thing I think we're in agreement on is that what's really awesome about Dishonored 2 is that the gameplay is very different for these two different characters. There's a lot of incentive in Dishonored 2 to go back and play through again. It's a very different experience, whether it's in the gameplay or in the narration by the characters.
Yeah, absolutely. Emily so far is a very cool character, especially if you've played the first game and you have that connection with her. But yeah, so just jumping now forward with the AI. Sorry, I walked over your Corvo talk for a second.
Don't sweat it.
But how do you feel about the enemy AI so far?
It's actually much more difficult this time around. I was playing on hard, the hard setting initially, which isn't the most difficult setting, but then I had to bump it back because enemies are very alert. When you lean out of cover or above cover, which is new now, you can like poke up. Enemies will spot you if you're out there for too long or based on how far out you are, which makes the game a lot trickier to be stealthy in.
Yeah, I agree. It's they're much smarter now. They're much more sensitive to your motions. Like you said, the peeking mechanic was totally broken in Dishonored 1. You could just peek around and you were fully exposed and they wouldn't notice you. And now they've kind of have this more dynamic system to it where if you're peeking out all the way, they're much more likely to spot you. And also there seems to be different levels of alertness in this game. If you fully alerted them in the first, you were in trouble and they would come after you. And then if you even semi-alerted them to the umpth degree, like they had 1, 2, 3 lightning bolts of awareness or whatever, they often would just stay on their patrol and just look around, and they wouldn't actually change their behaviors. Now their behaviors are very dynamic. If they just get a short glimpse of you, they may not pursue you, or they might. And also, if you attack other soldiers that are on patrol or try to stealth take down any other enemies and they disappear, the other AI will become aware of them not being there and they will try to seek them out. They'll realize that something's afoot. So the AI is much smarter this time around. It's much more compelling. And yeah, I was playing on hard too. I eventually went down to normal mode, but I think I'm going to go back to hard mode because I like a good challenge, but it's definitely a much harder game than Dishonored 1 was. Although, as you get more powers, I'm sure it'll get easier, just as the first game did. Anyway, that's just our general impressions of the game so far. We're only a couple missions in, where we have a lot more to go, and we're definitely going to play through the game multiple times. But so far, I'm very excited about the game, ready to push forward and play as the other characters. I'm so far very optimistic about the experience.
Yeah, I think what you can expect is this is a lot of what the original Dishonored created. A lot of those fundamentals of the Dishonored game, the stealth, the play your way, the side missions, like that, it's all built upon. Voice protagonists are really cool. I feel much more compelled by the characters in this one, and the game world itself suffers from a couple technical issues, but is much more vertical and dense, which creates a lot of interesting opportunities for creative play.
Yeah, I agree. It is also, we didn't get too much into it, but it is so much like Dishonored 1, just the actual system and the format. We don't have to get into it too much. I know we're going to go, but it's just interesting. Like, you loot things and you get coin immediately on return, and you just build up your abilities. There's a bit more of a skill tree system to these abilities now. It's not so linear with each ability that you have, which is pretty cool. But generally, it is very much in every sense of the word Dishonored 2. So while that was surprising to me, I thought they might change things up a lot. It's also very cool, very nice to come back to a system that works while it's still while a lot more was added onto it.
Yeah.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining our little discussion on Dishonored. We're going to have a full review for you from Hunter and myself once we've played through the game multiple times, and we'll give you all of our thoughts on the game there. So please make sure you come back and check that during the week. Thanks so much, Hunter.